And that's horrendous. And we keep perpetuating this by just feeling smug about ourselves because we're doing that. There we go. How many times have you done this so far? How many episodes of yours?
With hot sauce?
Yeah.
One.
One? Is this the first?
This is the second one.
This is the second one. Nice.
So yeah, today we have Dimi. For the second time, he was here. No, not here. He was in this podcast around 1.5 years ago.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But it was over Zoom, so it's
it's
nice
good
do
to
this
have you in
person.
face to face. Yeah. It's always better. Yeah, having a more.
I agree. And now
deep
there's
conversation.
we could do it in a way that I could order these and have them sourced myself, but no, this is a much better format.
Awesome.
Nice. How did you feel about the previous one?
It was good. It was actually more interesting,
Okay.
I think,
Do you have
at least for me.
Yeah, didn't have any accidents, I suppose,
No.
which was nice. I'm a big fan of spice food, so it's gonna.
Great.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I've seen the format, in the Hot Ones thing. So
Yeah. For the people that are watching, not just listening, you have probably seen that we have some extra talents on the table.
Yep.
It's like a tribute to the Hot Ones show where they consume like 10 hot sauces, 10 hot wings with different hot sauces, and each time we're going up a scale each round, and we have from the mild one to the hottest one in the world right now, which is over 2 million in the Scoville unit. And if this doesn't make sense for you, Tabasco, which you are probably familiar with or you have tried it, it's around 5,000 in the Scoville unit, so it's
Possibly.
somewhere here between the second and third.
Right.
So it's like just 5,000. This is over 2 million. So
Yep.
if you think Tabasco is hot, then
Yeah, it's 4,000 times hotter. So that makes.
Yeah, I love the maths. You did the maths.
Yeah, well,
It's like that.
I'm good like that.
Nice. Do you want to start with the first one?
Yes. Let's go
jump.
for it.
Since you are a designer and also a food expert,
I'm not. a food
maybe
expert.
I consider you a food expert.
I work with hospitality, which is close enough.
I want you to maybe give us your thoughts on what you're testing, and at the same time, what do you think about the bottom, the label on the bottom?
So, Howler Monkey. Okay. So this is okay. So first of all, like all of these are hot sauces. So this is not just spicy, because many times, people serve hot sauce, but it's just spicy. This is actual hot sauce, so it's close enough to perhaps Worcester sauce or things like that. Yeah, like the label, I like more traditional labels, like the second one. I think that, typography wise, like the more serious it looks, the more like medicine, I suppose, the more I find it interesting.
So we already did a podcast together. For the people that haven't seen the first one, I will have the link, but if you want to, say 2 words about you.
Well, I'm Dimi. I'm a brand identity designer. I'm used to saying these words again and again. I design brand identity for hospitality businesses most of the time. I live in the UK for the last almost 6 years now. I'm currently in Athens, where I'm originally from. And yeah, I do a lot of work on semiotics and symbolism. So that's my area of focus, and this is usually what drives my work, I suppose.
Nice. In the beginning of every podcast, I'm asking everyone the same question: what's your distance from your destination? Meaning, what's your goal right now and where you're going to go? So since you're the first one that is coming back for the second time, and it's something that I would like to do, I would like to know, like, you tell me that your goal back then was to make sense of things, as the things that we do as designers, and etc. So yeah, are you close? You are far away from that goal. Well, are you closer? Are you changing the goal?
Well, the thing is, okay, so it used to be a distant mountain. Now it's a mountain that's closer to me, but it also, I realize how much more high it is than I expected it to be. So things like open up as I'm going, but I do feel I've covered lots of ground. So the more I work in this direction, the more I realize how much work has to be done in this situation. The coronavirus and all that has brought a very different approach to work. It's more and more important to take any kind of client work that is possible to take right now. So all of the research, all of the personal projects, all of the leisure time has to be last priority right now, because we live in times of uncertainty, and it's really hard to say. For us who are self-employed, sometimes you don't know when your next paycheck is coming, so you want to make sure that you've optimized for all situations. That's the one. And the second is, like, this is the first year now that we're social too, again, a bit, like we meet people outside and all that. So it has made sense for me to spend lots of my free time, getting back together with people, family, visiting Greece and all that without...
That's very important too.
Yeah. So, well, lockdown was really good for catching up with reading and research, but I was happy to, not have my foot to the gas pedal during this summer. Like, it was nice to be more relaxed about it, I suppose. So while I've covered lots of ground, I'm probably the same distance from my destination as I was.
Okay. And it's hard destination to get there. I don't know. For me, it's even hard to comprehend how you're gonna do it. Making sense.
So the thing is, so I read a lot, and I think every year I seem to be reading more and more. And while, like last year when we spoke, I would be in the habit of having about 10 books open at any given time. Right now I have 25. The thing is,
nice.
So the thing is, like, you as you're reading things, you understand that there's foundational work that you have to do. There's probably a reference that you think, while reading, you think, oh, it's really important to check this first. So you leave that book open, you go back to a more fundamental thing, and more fundamental thing, and more fundamental thing. And so for example, like we have talked about how found, like, really important to introduce some sort of groups of symbols that we can, slowly start to understand them. and well, I came about a whole idea of a new way of structuring the process of making categories. For example, I didn't know there were people thinking about that, like how you make categories, how you group things in places, and what's the traditional method and what's the more modern method, and as things progress, like it's more and more deep actually. So it's so valuable in my everyday work that obviously it pays off straight away, even just being familiar with these ideas. But yeah, it's really hard to anticipate how it's going to look in a year from now, and a year from that, and a year from that.
Like 1.5 years ago, when we last spoke, you had like 400 books on your list.
Yes.
Now you have
990.
So
yeah, I do believe that October is going to start with 1,000 books in my to-read list.
That's huge.
Well, yes, but the thing is, like, there's obviously no time to do that. I have to triage every time I finish a book. I look at this list again. I have to reprioritize and say, okay, what's really important, what's really pertinent. I'm happy that since the last time we spoke, I'm partnering up with a friend in the business. She's doing packaging design and websites, and I do more branding work and
nice
and that type of thing. But even through that, like, it's good to have at least a person to weigh in the things that I should be focusing on right now.
Nice.
Because my curiosity can take me, in places that are not optimal. And well, there are simply not enough lifetimes to read 1,000 books. So yeah.
Should we go for the second one? And I want to ask you about your partner.
So I'm curious. So it says first we presents hot ones. Are these like the official sources?
I have the first, middle, and in the end.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, they're so big now. They have their own brands.
I need to make a hot sauce at some point.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Even for myself, it's just going.
Should we combine powers?
Yeah, sure.
I really wanted to make it. I was researching a little bit. I was even researching how to close the bottles, those things, or if you're making it with candle wax, you can close it with wax. So yeah.
Packaged food is the hardest thing to do in terms of bureaucracy and things like that.
So yeah, you have a partner now.
Yes.
Symbolon Branding.
Yes.
The last time we spoke, I think you were in the process of creating the website. It wasn't ready yet.
Yes, nothing was ready. Not even like I was going through the rebranding. So now we have a website.
Pretty cool website.
Thank you. Well, it's
very clean.
Well, it's fine.
And I like. Sorry.
Yeah.
I like the experimental. In the end,
the map of
the part. Idea behind that.
Well, the thing is, first of all, during research, there was at some point where I really wanted to make a mind map of the things I was reading about, how the mountains symbolize wisdom, for example. Like you go high in the mountain, you're a hermit, and it's tied to wisdom. And it became so complex that I knew that pen and paper was not going to cut it. because it was like insanely complex. So I started realizing that there is a good reason to try to do this in a computer, and use some. So essentially, every dot you see in this map is a symbol, and ideas that are connected, concepts that are connected, symbols that are connected, they're connected through a line. But this line has physics. So essentially, it works like a rubber band or a spring. So the stronger, the more references we find of connections between two ideas, like fire and heat, for example, right? The closer, the stronger this elastic band is. So the closer together the pull of these particles. So now that we have something like 8,000 connections in there, with about 2,000 ideas, I think, something like that. There's the physics give it a shape by itself. So it is arranged in the way that the physics think that it is better. So in this way, the more central ideas just gather themselves in the center. So that's not something like we program into it. This is just happening.
It's like
AI. Yeah, but well, it's not AI, but it's
happening. But
it's stupid programming. But still, the programming, the modeling, gives us a great idea of which concepts are more central than others. So you have something like fire or water or gold or the moon or spring, which are much more fundamental ideas than the werewolf. And well, this is the first stage. So the way this works right now is we have lots of reference books on symbolism, and we just track these connections and we put them in there. So it's not scientific at all. It's very biased. It's the personal experience of our business. But the second phase of this is we intend to open this in a way similar to Wikipedia. So in some way, if you have a connection that you think the sun might be connected to
fire.
Fire is obviously there. To milk. Let's say that you think the sun is connected to milk somehow. That you will be allowed to put this in. We're going to have a review method of some sort of, with upvoting or some other way to introduce that, so that this will eventually surpass our biases and become more like a global reference of symbols rather than because for something to be in there, it has to be in a book that I will own, and it's still good enough for us to see what we have right now, but it's not scientific. It's just very biased. It's good enough for us, but if this is going to be valuable to everyone, it makes sense that
will you use it like a map,
it's still going to be a map, yes. And basically what you can do is the idea is multiple. First of all, it's a visual way to understand some things, and again to come into conclusions on what is central and what is not, and what's important and what's not. The second is it can be an inspirational tool for people. So when you want to easily you have words like wisdom or justice or things, or spice, right? Things that you want to associate with the brand. So you have some it's a really intriguing idea. So you have fire, which is nice. You have the triple X, which is a different symbol for, you know, spicy or stay away or things like that. You have the nuclear sign and you know, some sort of post-apocalyptic design in here. You have flames coming out of mouths, which is interesting. You have orange and red and warm colors. Like this salmon one looks outside of the ordinary, which is nice. This is green, but it's Indian, so it's green, orange, and white, which is you know, relevant to that. So you have certain things, you have certain symbols that essentially play a role in us.
So I could use it to, if I want to design a new sauce,
yes,
to see what's close to hot sauce and design something around it, or go all the way to the other way like this one and be completely different.
Pretty much.
Okay.
That's one approach. Yes. Well, you will have to. There's still the map itself cannot do everything, so you'll need to know the market and what exists out there and what doesn't.
But it's like a guidance, like a
and
starting point.
The important thing is, like, compared to an intuitive idea, you know, just because this is referenced, and especially if it's global and everybody can work on this, you already use what people already recognize as close to the ideas that you want. So if we have ideas that triple X and fire are related to chili, to spiciness, to that, well, you already work with that, and you can decide whether to use it or not. But that's the that's the main function of it. Nugget honey. I like sweet ones, so let's see.
What do you think about this one?
I like that it's sweet. The crust on the chicken makes it feel like a pancake.
True.
I think sweet flavors work with spicy food a lot.
They are complementing each other.
It excites your tongue a bit.
You're familiar with spicy food? What's the spiciest food you have ever eaten until now?
So, there is a plate from Bhutan that I've had a few times. It's called emadase, and it's well, essentially it's just spicy peppers and goat cheese, and that's it. Like, there's some olive oil involved in all that.
So it's pure like
peppers.
There's not a lot going on.
Yeah, it's not.
So it must be really hot.
Yeah, so it is quite hot. But the thing is, like, it's really hard to find Bhutanese restaurants anywhere. So I do it at home, not so successfully. It's really hard to find the appropriate peppers, I suppose. I do something like it with regular supermarket peppers. But generally, we have a really good Indian place close to us in East London called the Taste of India, and I usually have the chicken naga shari, which is pretty much chicken with potatoes and carrots and onions and naga pepper curry thing. So that's my usual. This is
nice.
Yeah. East London is really good with spicy food. Like, we have all these sort of Eastern cuisines, like Indian, Pakistani.
I also remember when I was in London in the markets.
Yep.
There was a lot of people having their own hot sauces, and they were selling them. I couldn't bring anyone because I need to travel with it on the plane. But yeah.
Well, yeah, like in England in general, you have this idea of of curry as fast food. Like, you late night, you have a few pints, you come back home, you order takeaway curry, some rice, you just have that. Well, you can have a kebab or a burger, but Indian food is part of the average takeaway day. So it's usually after good night's drinking. It's easier to tolerate as well, I suppose.
And you're going back now, but you're going to Liverpool?
Yes, I'm going to Liverpool.
Nice.
Probably, possibly, not 99%, which is
okay.
Which is close enough. So I'll be going back to London for a couple of weeks and try to find a flat in Liverpool, move there, and keep. I think I'll stay there for about a year or two at least, and then reassess. I think post-pandemic, while London is open now, like social events are happening, you can go in a club, you can go party, you can do.
I think you can. You don't need to wear a mask.
No. There's no. We didn't need to wear masks on the street ever. It wasn't mandatory.
I mean, even in the.
But even in indoors,
social
transportation, supermarkets, all of this is open, which is a positive sign. But even then, I think the important social things, like the important physical things in there, are going to be slower than usual. So Adobe Max is not happening, and hospitality events are not happening, and all that. So even they might be allowed, but it's still going to be some time where we try to assess.
Yeah,
I believe in the in-person. I'm terribly bored by all the digital events that happened this year. They tried,
of course.
And people trying to convince themselves, but that it's the same thing. It's not.
I was waiting for Adobe Max to finally come to Europe.
Yeah.
And when finally they came, I bought the tickets at once, and they just, we're canceling.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it online now.
And the thing with online is it's filthy cheap for them to do.
Yeah.
So it's going to be sexy for them to just keep their format digital. And
they're going to probably keep it from now on in a way. Even if the actual event it's happening, they're going to probably, And it's easier for people to watch it, I guess.
Yeah, but the thing is like, it's another Zoom meeting. Like this.
Yeah, I agree.
What a couple of years.
But you're going back in a pretty interesting way. You're gonna have a road trip, train trip.
I'm flying to Rome in a couple of weeks, and I will stop in 5 or 6 destinations. I'll cross Italy, go to Switzerland, Germany, the Netherlands, and going back to the UK via train, which is hopefully, like, it's still you cannot be 100% certain with these last 2 years, like the way travel has been. So
how much time do you think it's gonna take you?
I think I'm going to be crossing in about 15 days in total. Like, friends to visit and all that in every step of the way. So that's good. And that's my initial plan anyway. If something happens, I can always take a plane from where I am and go straight to London. That's the contingency scenario, I suppose.
But very nice that you can do that.
Yeah.
Should we go on the fourth one?
Yes. Oh, nice curry.
Is it more familiar?
Yes. And I've been in Greece for a few months now.
Mm-hmm.
So curry is the one thing that I missed most from British cuisine.
Yeah, especially if you have it so much,
Yeah.
you're gonna definitely have better quality restaurants.
Yeah.
Here, I don't think it's a thing. So there are some good places, but not a lot everywhere.
I agree. It's really hard to well, where I live, I don't think we have an Indian restaurant anyway. So even if you order, it's going to be from far away. It's going to take an hour. It's very expensive because these people don't have enough traffic to make proper prices work. So it's very different. It's a nice sauce. I don't think it would work with anything other than chicken. Like I don't think I would put it on a burger or chips.
We were in France, in Paris. I used to eat a lot of Vietnamese food and Asian food.
Nice.
So I do miss that now that I'm back.
Vietnamese is nice, yeah. Is pho Vietnamese?
Yeah, the soup. Yeah. What do you think about the design of this one?
Well, I'm not the target market. I can understand the design choices. It's a bit too pop art for me. I'm more of a traditional design typography type of person. I'm not thrilled with the design, but this sauce is really good. Good job, Shakwanda. Brazilian curry, hot pepper sauce. Well done. Compliments to the chef.
Great. They have your seal of approval now. How's it going with Symbolon Branding? Are you, because you wanted to focus on food, actually not just any restaurant, it was like more...
Or the crazy ones.
Yeah, crazy ones.
Well, that hasn't happened, but that's more of a goal rather than anything else. So since we spoke, I've done very interesting Mexican restaurant, which was really, really nice to work with. Well, they're a bit more sophisticated than your average Mexican fast food restaurant, but still no crazy ideas, I suppose. This is still something that's extremely interesting to me. No such clients as yet. I think the pandemic is going to bring some pause in the very crazy ideas as well. Like people are going to be trying safer things for a while.
Should we do that or should we do the opposite?
Well,
instead of being safe, going crazy.
Well, the thing is, it's a good question. I wish I had an easy answer for that. Well, everybody is. I do believe that in general, as a society, globally, the Western world or the global society, we have been taking more risks than we should. So I think we're wasting a terrible amount of money exploring bad ideas. And there's the opposite thing, which says yes, and every now and then we have a Tesla, we have X, Y, and Z, which is nice. But I'm not sure. I'm not 100% convinced that throwing money away in ideas just because we can is a great concept. Now, if someone's convinced that a crazy idea is a good idea, then go for it 100%. I'm more skeptical of the things we just try for the sake of them. We're not really convinced and we're not really sure.
Do you think about them more like a waste?
I do. I do think like. Do you remember Google Glass?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like okay. The thing is, they were not just trying. So they knew that it wouldn't work. Okay, so the thing is, like, they had to maintain a lie in order to do other things. So many concepts in Google Glass were really interesting. You know, high definition cameras, portability, augmented reality, all that. All of these were good ideas, but somebody had to bullshit the way through the corporate ladder to say, we will make this and we'll put it in glasses. And that was a problem. Like, they knew it was a bad idea and they tried it anyway. I feel that there's better ways to think about things and be more precise. So now that's a different idea from, let's say, Galileo, when he said, like, the Earth is rotating around the sun, not the other way around. Like, it was still a crazy idea in its time, but the thing, like, Galileo had the conviction that his idea was right. So I'm not against going against the grain. Is more about let's try it and see what happens. Like that, I think that's
yeah, I think the one is more like how to say it, like a concept, like how things work in the universe, and the other one is like, let's make some sales. It's
yes,
it's
precisely. It's very much a sign of how the economy works and all that. There's this very bad Silicon Valley approach, which is do it now and apologize later. And you see this with things like, we had some problems with Uber in London. There's the way we use plastics, everything. Like in the 80s, like people thought, oh, let's use plastic for everything. It's a great idea. And
I think, I don't know if it's in the 80s or the 50s or before, they wanted to use plastic in order to not use the paper bags and save. It was like trees. Saving the trees.
Yes,
and the created plastic. That. So
well, that's fine. That's fine. If you don't know any better, that's fine. The problem is when you decide that let's do it now, and just, if it doesn't work,
like it, but you don't really care.
Yes. So that's where I draw the line. Like it's an increasingly common problem for previous generations to put the points of failure in the later generations. Like we have to deal with many crises. Many of them could be very easily avoidable. So yeah, I don't like this mentality.
I agree.
This is sweet as well. I can put some pineapple in there.
Yeah.
Dirty Dick's hot pepper sauce with a tropical twist. Yep. How are you with spicy? Are you challenged?
I'm good. I think this one is one of my favorites just because you said the thing we were saying about this one, but it gives you a little bit of sweet in there. I do like that.
It's really nice.
So yeah, we are in the middle. How are you? Nothing until now.
Yeah. I don't think. The milk is just a prop.
Yeah. This is actually glue, like in the photo shoots with
Oh God, have you done this? Have you done food photography ever?
No, I think it's very difficult. I would like to try it, like video, use it in a video or something, like B-rolls, and try some of the things that they do just for fun. Like they put glue instead of milk for the cereals. They put like shoe painting for the lines on a burger. So yeah.
I've done when I first landed in London, one of my first jobs, I used to work in an ice cream shop there.
Mm-hmm.
So we had some people coming over and taking pictures of stuff. So we had to make it and work with a photographer. So I
don't remember what they use for ice cream, but it's definitely not ice cream.
For us, it's because it was for a delivery service.
Oh, okay.
It has to be the real, the real actual thing.
Yeah.
You can style it in some way, just put some sauce or put it in a nice plate. But it has to be the real thing.
Yeah.
So we had to serve everything. It's really challenging. I remember we did waffles, and you only have limited time until a waffle melts the ice cream. It just becomes a huge blob of things. So it was really a challenging day. I have enormous respect for food photographers.
Yeah, it's very
I saw this in person. Yes, just amazing. Do you want some chips? I haven't touched any. There you go.
Thanks. They're cold.
Yeah.
I can tell that you lived in London since you are calling them chips.
Oh yes. Well, it's hard to walk away from that now. I used to. I'm Greek as well, so it's gonna happen. Growing up here, I used to have much more American language in my speech. And while I was learning English, because I did both the British and the American degrees, I could switch. I could go to the American test with an American accent, and I could go to the British test with a British accent. But now that I live in London, and I've started having real connections with American people, I feel that if I switch now to speak American to them, it will sound fake to them. So it's just like it will sound as I'm making fun of them somewhere or not. So I've decided to just stick with the London accent.
So how do you spell color?
Color. I use U's everywhere. Yeah, color. COLOUR. Yeah, everything. Yes, and theatre. Put the R before the E, and all that. And I'm picking up as the years go by. I switch from standard BBC English to the more London accent. And it's going to be challenging now that I'm going to Liverpool. The question as an immigrant is like, do you switch again? Are you a Londoner forever now? Like, is really hard to find the fine line between learning and imitation. Being honest and being fake.
Yeah, when you're imitating, it's the thing that you said. It's like you're making fun. Yes. Even if you don't.
Yes, because you're a foreign learner, and it's So you have to teach yourself to speak English in any way, shape, or form. So now it's very. But I think now, as I'm growing older, I think I find my style essentially and just settle in. I am pretty sure that some scouse is going to seep into the way I talk, but I'm not going to do it intentionally to say, okay, now I'm here, I have to fit in, I'll do that. Will see me a mile away, I suppose.
Any other place that you would like to visit?
To live?
To live, yeah.
Well, Italy would be an amazing place that, if it weren't for, the economy and the way that it's absolutely, unemployment is really similar to Greece and all that. Like it's really, really hard to go there to do something. It was in my options. I love spending time in Italy. I would love to have the capability of, staying there for a few months every year or something like that. But the thing is, I find with the work that we do, there's a certain distance you can have from the well, like from where the money is coming from, the public conversation, like you can, as a designer, and I saw this coming here to Greece for a few months this winter, like if you're retreating, you can work from home, but essentially you're retreating from the public sphere. You go and you work, but there's every kind of new work I've had is carrying on from recommendations and things like that. It's really hard to meet new people in a way that is consistent with work and do that. Like you see that even very affluent people, like so the movie people are all in Los Angeles, right? Even if they can afford to just live in Bora Bora for the rest of their lives, like they still and some of them might go to, so Tarantino might go to a remote place and write.
Yeah, but
he's
Tarantino.
Still no. I mean, like he doesn't choose to do that. Like most people still live in Los Angeles and take some time off, away, go away, do their thing, live in a really nice place. But there is a center of community for everyone. So perhaps Italy is more appropriate for fashion, and Berlin might be more appropriate for architecture, and London is more appropriate for design and branding, and Los Angeles for movies, and New York for financiers and bankers. Like there's always the hub of people that's really hard to avoid ignoring, essentially. Like you can't really ignore that for a long time if you want to be there.
Do you think this will continue?
Yes.
In the years to come?
Yes. I do think that. Before I studied design, I studied mathematics in Crete, and one of the things that I realized there, because there's so many students there, and they all have, like, all of them from the natural sciences and mathematics, it felt like a real different place from Athens, where it's more random. Like you cannot go in a bus in Heraklion, where I studied, and not find at least one person who can do complex mathematics, for example. Like, well, it's not the case here. Everybody in the bus is usually under 35 or something like that. Like it's a different structure of society. So and it makes sense that there's a research center there and all that. Like every place, like you cannot be. And I found out during the pandemic as well. There's no way. Well, it's very hard to try to build a scene around a specific thing like design or architecture or science or whatever, and not have social interactions with people. So you cannot do everything over the internet. Like you have to physically be there during downtime with people. You have to be able to go to a bar with a colleague and relax. Some of the good ideas are going to happen in a time where you're not on the computer, you're not on Zoom, and even the fact. To give you an example, right? So you go out for coffee with a friend who has no idea on the profession you're working, so they don't really have anything to contribute, and at some point they don't even understand what really is it that you do, right? Well, that's all fine. But then you have the opportunity to go for coffee with a friend who knows what you're doing. So even if you don't talk shop and you don't work together, there's going to be one point where you have this crazy idea, or you have this thing that's troubling you or weighing heavy on you, that you wouldn't set up a Zoom call to do that. It has to happen naturally, and you have to find an opening and say, terrible weather today, and my client did this. You know, it has to be together. So I think this is the power of local places like this, and having a scene of some sorts. Like it creates that opportunity, because it's really hard to say, hey, could we set up a Zoom call, have something to talk, like the idea needs to be more formed for this to happen. While if you're drunk 4 a.m. in a bar and you just complain about something, really different.
Social interaction is very important, and a lot of times we don't take it as in consideration of the things that we think that we're gonna have that meeting about that, and we're gonna find a solution. But in reality, it's happening more organically during the day. So
it's really hard to develop friendships if your initial point is digital networking.
Yeah, true. So we go for the
Los Calientes. Ooh. This is spicy and hot. It's also quite intense in flavor, like cinnamony.
I have to say that hot ones, they have their own brand, but it's not like we're gonna have our brand and sell sauce. They have good
good product.
Good products.
Yeah, that's nice. That would go amazing in beef burgers as well.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I haven't tasted one that I don't like. So all of them are amazing, but some of these stand out.
Nice.
So so I don't see moving to a strictly digital global society at any point soon, or at all, really.
So you must be really bored this year.
Well, I'm lucky enough that I wasn't too troubled by lockdown. Coming out of lockdown has been more difficult for me. Rearranging my life again. Lots of work was done during lockdown in terms of reading and writing and all, because there was no opportunity for social interactions. Now I'm always very tempted. I have fear of missing out. Friends will go out, and even though I have deadlines and things happening, I'll strive to push things so I can go out for an hour or two and meet people who are already outside. I do that. Now I realize it was boring. I wasn't too depressed like some people during the time, but now I'm out of it. I'm not really willing to go back to it. But still, have
Totally understand.
I have, as we said, 990 books to read, almost 2,000 movies, 700 comic books, more than 15,000 episodes of TV in my watch lists.
So many things to consume.
Yes, I usually am a collector. So you suggest something, it will go in my list first, without judging. Like if I trust you in some way, like I won't even consider. If you say, oh, you should watch this, it goes in my list. Then I decide what in my list needs to be prioritized. But I usually keep it in this way. So you say, I read this book, it's interesting, it goes on my list. This is why it's growing so rapidly.
I do the same thing, but yeah, I don't have like 99 books.
Yeah, no, it's really tempting. Like there's a saying about business development books and self-help and all that. Like just the titles reflect what's troubling you in life right now.
Yeah.
So sometimes just the title is enough to keep you excited and say okay. And then I'm on Goodreads. Goodreads suggests 5 or 6 books of that area.
Similar.
Yeah.
Is it good that they suggest you similar books?
Yes.
Maybe
there's usually one good book per topic, I think. So perhaps if you haven't found the right one, it's nice to add 5 or 6 and then go to.
I was thinking about it more like, should we read like the same kind of books, or we should read something that's opposite to what we already
it's a good idea. Well, so the first thing is like even if you're obsessive in the way I am, I don't use the term OCD anymore out of respect to people who actually have it, but I'm still quite obsessive about the books. I always finish my books and read every single word and don't skim them and all that. But if you want to do yourself some good, you can ignore many books or many chapters. There are many books that I've read that I found that this could be a blog post, and somehow you manage to put in 300 pages. So wasting time is not a good idea. But I think that an informed creative needs to have both a wide variety of topics, but at the same time be really knowledgeable about the books and knowledge that exists in the area of expertise, at least, and then everything else is added value. And being a creative professional, an entrepreneur, there's so many more things that relate to work that are really, really necessary skills. So things like management and finances and economics and negotiations and research and all that. Like it's many things to be done.
So now you have your company. Before
Yes.
you were working on another company as an employee.
Yes, so I stopped working for other people in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 3 years now.
Yeah, you told me an interesting story about that.
Yes, so it was a startup, and I have tremendous respect for people who work in-house. I would never do that again.
That was the question.
Yes,
actually.
I think there's, especially for designers, speak about designers specifically, I think it's a bad situation where everybody's your boss and it's really hard to avoid saying no to many people, because sales will want something and marketing will want something and the engineers will want an icon for their thingy and the boss will either presentation for the investors and whatever. So it's really hard to prioritize what you need to be doing. And if you're a junior, it's really, really, really hard to know that as well. And manage
But
that.
even, I think, from my experience, a lot of companies, they don't even know, like the people that they are higher than you, they don't even know, because I will ask, so we have 10 different tasks, which one is the priority? And like, all of them. And I'm like, yeah, but we cannot do all of them in 1 week. So what's the priority? All of them.
I know what you mean.
I think it's especially for juniors, it's the senior not the senior designer, but the people above him that should.
Well, the thing is, right? There's some tricks that if I knew when I was younger, it would be nice. Pretty much everything that has to do with that sort, I learned through the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. He's an FBI negotiator. So it's a good idea to ask questions in this. So you would say, okay, what do I prioritize? And people say everything. Okay, so you can ask, would you be happier if I've done 10% of all of them by the end of the week, or have this done and nothing else done? Which would make you happier? So that specifies it, and that makes it clear for them to tell you, you know what, just do the one first and you'll do the other next. Or they can say, like, all of them are priority, just do 10% of all of them and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
So asking people to tell you what they have in their mind, like what the request that they have of you looks like in their mind. It's a very helpful skill. There is a question that Chris Voss suggests, which is when you're in a negotiation and you feel you cannot deliver what is asked of you, like you're losing essentially the negotiation. Like there's again, he's an FBI negotiator. Like people take hostages and they ask for money. And
like,
sometimes
it's not like design; it's life and death situations.
Life and death situations. But many times it's crazy things. Like people need millions and millions and in a helicopter, and whatever. So there's a really, really good question: is how am I supposed to do that? So you bring them over to your side, and they might have. So I want this magazine design done by the end of the week. So 150 pages, go for it. So like you can say I cannot do it. That will make them defend. Of course you can. You're the specialist. I trust in you. But if you ask the question, how am I supposed to do that? They will put, even if they have no idea, they'll try to put themselves in your shoes and trying to understand the scenario. Like what's the immediate steps that they want you to take. So even if you're the lesser part of a negotiation, like your employee and the other guy's your boss, like how am I supposed to do that? Especially with bosses that are supposed to be telling you what to do anyway. Like it creates a more specific question that it's really harder for them to avoid.
Cool. That's pretty clever.
Yeah. Well, it's a good book. Chris Voss.
It's on the top of my list. I haven't read it yet. So
affiliate link I don't have. Just if you buy the book, tell Chris Voss to send me 5p or something. This is interesting. So it starts vinegary, but it turns smoky really quick.
I don't really like the vinegar. If I feel so much vinegar, I don't really like it. And definitely we have a jump from this one to this one.
I was about to say. You'll know from my hiccups.
What do you do normally? If it's very spicy, do you have hiccups?
Hiccups.
Okay.
I sweat. And I might cry if the hops are like this. I'll probably cry by the next, but I really enjoy.
It's funny that everyone has a different, like hiccups. I think it's a usual thing, but most people have a different
Reaction.
Reaction, yeah.
The thing about hot wings that you don't have with, say, Indian food
Mm-hmm.
is that it's only in the cover,
Mm.
so the meat of the chicken actually
Doesn't have
is
the.
more tame.
Yeah. I assume you could marinate them.
Yeah.
And then cook them.
Yes. So well, the marinade is the KFC one.
Oh yeah.
You don't marinate with fire. Oh, that was good. That was a bit of a punch. Okay, I'm challenged.
Yeah, we are 77. Yeah, 77,000. The previous
And
one
that's
was
2 million.
like 49,000. So yeah,
And that's 2 million.
2 million plus.
Okay.
But this one definitely has a completely different design.
Hmm.
It's more modern, I will say. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's different.
Well, it stands out, right?
True.
I don't like it. I like the choice of color,
Yeah.
but everything else is so deeply generic that I wouldn't go for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the classic one is
Yeah.
the XXX.
Mm-hmm. Which one is this your favorite one?
I think
As
this
a
is
design.
the favorite, and this
Yeah.
is the second favorite,
Mhm.
and everything else has problems. So yeah, it's good. Yeah, really good. That one, good punch.
Yeah, I meant to ask you, have you used marketplaces like Upwork, Freelancer, Fiverr
Well, I've tried.
as a designer or as a
An employee, an employer.
employer?
So I'm using Fiverr as an employer right now
Mm-hmm.
for voiceover in a video.
Okay.
And they wanted an American voice, and the client suggested a specific person on Fiverr, so I'm just going through the motions like it wasn't my choice.
Oh, okay.
So that's all right. But I've also tried using Upwork as a freelancer. I haven't got a single hint.
Mm-hmm.
Not a job, not anything.
Why is that?
Well, I think it's a combination of my resistance to bullshit and the way the platform works.
Mm-hmm.
The thing, Upwork makes it really hard for anything relevant in terms of design work to climb up.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense for people who have undifferentiated businesses like virtual assistants,
Oh,
or,
yeah.
data entry, or things that you're highly replaceable, I think.
Mm.
But with Upwork, it feels like you have to prove yourself in some way.
Mhm.
That I find it really challenging for me to go through it. And I had the same thing with job applications in many times. I'm a very, very hardworking person. I don't mind the work, but like even when I was selling ice cream rather than being a designer, I couldn't jump through hoops just because some people wanted to test me essentially, like
Yeah.
in tasks that they were not really worthy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different. It's different if you have like in the UK, you usually have a 3-month trial period at work that they can fire you straight away.
Okay.
So essentially, you're hired, and you're in a test setting. You still get paid. Everything happens. Just they have the right to fire you at any moment. So it's a test period. You stay for 3 months, and you assess how things are going, right? So I have no problem with that. Like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I think the types of tasks that people ask you to do in order to get employed, so the tests, the questions, like I've been in interviews where, well, you have the classical bureaucratic bullshit, like where do you find yourself in 5 years, and what's your biggest deficiency, negative?
Biggest your
disadvantage, like your your worst.
I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah, I'm a perfectionist. Obviously,
the normal.
Yes, I'm a perfectionist. So I'm very truthful, which is so all of these show that the people looking to employ you have no idea about what you do.
It's like you have that list, you're asking those questions.
But the thing is, like, especially in design work, when you have design work to show, and people could ask you about your choices in the actual work that you produce, they ask you just the lingo. It's pretty much the same with Upwork. So Upwork has this skill tests, so that you can they have some automated multiple choice question thingies where they ask about
does the employer is
no that's Upwork as a platform.
Okay.
So you can take these tests, and then they will show on your profile that you have these. I tried taking one at some point just for branding. Like, it was utter bullshit. Like, it was clearly the person designing the test had no idea about branding as well. They had just the.
By the way, I haven't seen that test, but LinkedIn did it like a year ago.
It's also bullshit.
You have like a Photoshop certificate, and the test is like, I don't remember, like if you right click on the second layer on the, it's like you need to remember very specific paths that doesn't make any sense with design.
Yes, precisely. So that is, for me, that is evidence that this is a bad idea. I shouldn't bother with it. So Upwork, because of that, it's really hard. People, they offer a project where they want you to write, a thesis on why you're the perfect designer to go for that. And you're like, I find it really, really, really hard to work and compete with that.
You probably have a lot of competition, and you're also competing for the prize.
I don't think it's the competition. I don't think that. I don't think the best designers it's not like it's the design Olympics, and Upwork only gets the best, and there's 2 million of you, and the first few hundred. No, it's nothing like that. It's just it's utterly pointless and random, and it just keeps you on the platform, but it doesn't. And people who do succeed in getting work through Upwork, I've seen in personal experience, like with friends and colleagues, that they have a terrible time. Like, nobody's happy, and it actually takes time and effort from what they should be doing, and eventually, as they're moving on their career, they have to put this behind them. So I don't know. It's a really bad. It's the worst bits of matchmaking and human resources. It's just
I haven't tried freelancer and Upwork. I don't really know how they work as a designer, neither Fiverr, but I used way in the beginning. I was back in graphic design school, 99 Design,
yes,
which is like competitions. It's not like someone will hire you and then you need to do the job. But first of all, I didn't have any jobs back then. I think I was doing flyers.
Yeah.
Door-to-door flyers.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I was making like €5 per day. So even if I could win a competition, that will be like a lot of money back then. But I went into that not thinking that I'm going to win.
Right.
I never thought that I'm going to win. I went in with thinking that I'm gonna practice. Okay. Because the other thing in the graphic design school that you don't learn is how to communicate with clients, how it's a real project, and also they give you like projects that I think they're not so realistic.
Yeah.
You're gonna design for a Greek olive oil.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that when I'm outside. So I thought I'm gonna go there, and maybe you will, but not me personally.
Yeah.
And I remember I went into it and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna search for briefs that I like and I would like to add on my portfolio, and I will do it like I will not consider it like a competition, because I saw like there were like 500 different competitions for the logo, and there were people that they were competing in all of them, which means that they were doing like either it's clip art, either they're just doing really fast work. I was doing like one per week, something like that. So I was like more taking the time and doing research and doing it more like practice, like if it was a real client.
Well, the thing is, like, I was self-taught before I started learning design. So when I went to design school, I was already oldish. I was 23 and a half or something like that. And I was also quite socially active. So I remember being very early in the Graphic Design Association, in the magazines. Like I was, I tried to understand the environment of our work, and I do remember how I realized that type of approach wasn't really fruitful.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, as you might have guessed, I do a lot of things, so I never had time to just do design for practice. I would do design for myself, but something that I would need, something like a friend's DJ poster, and eventually they would have to get printed, or album cover, or a logo for a band. I did. Especially in the first few years, I did a label. I had a friend brewed his own beer, and that was the first year I was in London. So it's just right after design school. And he told me, like, I'm making 70 bottles. Like, I just want to put a label on it. How does this look? And I'm like, no, I'll make you one. So the curious thing about that was we did naming, we did branding, we did the label. Like, I did all of it for 70 bottles essentially. But it had to look the part. It had to look like a real craft.
But it was something you wanted to do. It was like
Yeah, I offered. I
Yeah,
told
yeah.
him like he sent me something. He told me like you're good with design. How do you feel about that? He didn't try to tell me.
Oh,
Would
okay.
you like to work on it? It's not even that. He told me like you're good with design. How does this look?
Yeah.
Something he made on Canva or something. And I'm like, dude, don't do that. I'll make you a label. But it had some real life things. I always have a mountain of projects like this even now. You know?
Yeah, I think after that, I also enjoy more doing my personal things and stuff as a practice instead of being on that platform. But yeah, obviously, if I could win, it was a huge thing. And I think it took me 6 months, something like that. I didn't do a lot of projects because I was doing one per week or 2 weeks.
Weren't you exposed to the idea of, redesigning a famous book cover or something like that? I know you've done superheroes, right?
I think, yeah.
So weren't you exposed to this idea while you were in school? No.
Not really. And I think what I was afraid back then was the connection with the client, because through that, it was through chat, but I could chat with them and ask them questions and have a communication, because I had never talked with a client. I had never seen a real brief from a client, not from school. So that was more of a practice instead of the actual work. I did learn how to work a little bit quicker, I think, but because in school you have like 6 months and then you have 1 week, so it's
I know.
But I think it took me 6 months to win the first one, and after that I won like 5 in a row. I made like 1,275, I remember, euros. It was the most money I have ever seen in my life. And I think after a week I clicked withdraw and I stopped doing it. And I was like, I found a position as an intern where I was making like nothing, but it was like, okay, I've done that. I know that I can do it. If in the worst case scenario, I can go back to that. But I think I took what I needed from it. I never thought I will win. So now that I have won, I don't need. So what I wanted to say was like, maybe in the beginning, I understand people like going into that as a designer, but even if you're successful, I think you need to find a way not to be consumed into that for a lot of time, because it's going to be difficult after that.
Success in these people, mind you that. Success in these things always takes more than it gives. I had friends who are imprisoned in Upwork, essentially.
I never had it, but I feel that you're gonna be successful there, but it's not your platform, so you're only
you have to
there.
play the game.
If this is out of the game, if it's closing, or if you want to move out elsewhere, you have nothing. You have
and it's basically that you have to keep playing the game, which is the worst part. So if you're underpaid for a project and you're severely underpaid, because everybody's underpaid for projects, I'm not trying to signal anything, but if you're severely underpaid, you basically have this phobia of stopping, because you have spent so much time in something that needs to happen, and this is incentive for people to it's nobody's fault. That's the thing. Like the people going to Upwork for designs, they either find what they want or not. Both of these situations are bad. No, it's just a matter of, for me, because I had this frustrating experience in my in-house job. Like the one condition I set to myself when I started on my own is I will never rush work. I will always take as much time as I need. So that doesn't work with Upwork at all. So it was that gave me this, because I've seen it in other things. So I was lucky when I was in my in-house work. I did some coding as well, and people might think that design can happen in a day. They always have some respect for the complexity that a website will take. Like they always give you a month for a website, whatever the case might be. But you can see how much you can do in a day and how much needs to be done. And putting the same amount of effort in design is just beyond any consideration. And the other thing is, again, cooking helps with this. There are some things like, you cannot rush certain things. Like you cannot make soup in 10 minutes. You just can't. It's just a matter of things need to boil and stew and wait, and as people say, 9 pregnant women cannot bear a baby in a month. It's just it's not the way it works. Some things need some time. So I think the previous one scared us.
I think attention with this one.
Okay, this is The Bomb, Beyond Insanity. Okay, I have a question. Did you rank them by the number, or did you rank them by your taste experience?
No, it's like Scoville unit numbers. So this is 75, this is 135. Yeah.
So I think fire is much hotter than the bomb.
Really? Okay.
I think it's the vinegar that just makes you feel hotter.
Okay. Most people have trouble with this one, actually.
Gonna have the hiccups again. It's good. It's good. No pain, no gain.
And
there we go.
This one is actually tough.
Yeah.
I haven't done this for a while now.
Oh, come on.
No worries, normal.
Part of the process. Woo!
Ah.
I have stronger hiccups. It's still on my tongue. That was stronger.
This one?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. This one is hitting me harder.
I can feel my eyes.
Yeah, me
burning.
too.
With this.
Don't touch them.
No, God, no. Okay, some more.
Here you go. I think the worst part for me when I'm eating hot sauces is the part of the lips outside.
Yeah.
Which I feel it burnt.
Yes.
That's the worst part for me.
God, yes. Now we're talking.
By the way, you have your own podcast now
Yes.
with Bill.
Billy. So yeah, Billy used to live in London. We lived really close. We met in the future London fans.
Ah, okay.
So, oh God, Having met my master. And after lockdown, we started meeting socially during last summer when pubs were open again.
Oh, okay.
We found an appreciation for metal music and design. Whew. God damn. And we started having these conversations about moral philosophy and politics and design combined.
Yeah, because you're going really deep in your podcast.
We have this thing where we went out for coffee 3 or 4 times, and we had these long, deep conversations that would be amazing in podcast form. Eventually, I told Billy, like, how would you feel if we recorded that? So this is really nice because, me and Billy, well, it's no secret, like it's on the podcast. So we have deep appreciation for politics. I come from left-wing side. Billy comes from a right-wing side in this.
Okay, so already you have a...
Yes, but we might be disagreeing in many things, but we have a similar way of approaching conversation, essentially, of talking and arguing without being unfriendly or disrespectful, which is nice and it works. We both, in our own way, have trouble with the way some things are, and postmodernism in general, which helps, because even if we come from different directions, we have a similar dedication to truth. So we're debating to change, so that helps. So it's very interesting to for 2 immigrants in London from very different perspectives, like especially when you're growing up in Greece, you hear about Sweden, and you think like, oh my god, like this is the absolute perfect place where everything is fully automated nuclear communism or something. But it's true. And well, here it's, whatever Athens is, with its trash and noise and again all the chaos that it brings. So it's very water. Yes, please.
Do you want ice cubes?
No, I'll be fine, thank you. So I really cherish these conversations, and basically the podcast was an opportunity for us to have these discussions, because as I said, it's as we're growing older, it's really hard to go out with someone and say, could we please speak about, pointless things for 3 hours? You want to share about your life, what's important, not just deep philosophy, but it's long-term important conversation. So we're essentially doing it for ourselves and just putting it out in the world. Usually so carried away that we will do 2 episodes in a single sitting.
Cool.
And then be lazy for months trying to edit it and put it online. But we do enjoy the talking. So I was moving back here for a bit, coming back. Billy's moved to Stockholm permanently right now. So yeah, it's we call it design alchemy. Like, we're really bored with, well, we have some common things. One thing is we hate what we call toxic positivity, like pretending everything is fine just because everyone tells you to pretend that everything is fine. Oh God, yes, that was strong.
I told you this one. It's dangerous one. I think it's the one that hits everyone.
And people are better afterwards. Like it's less of a climb, or is it more of a climb?
Yeah.
You've done it
like
once. You've done it once. Is it a climb?
it's hotter, but this one it's like
So it just tapers off. This just goes.
like this one is like 135 in the Scoville unit. This one is 6 like 700, and then you go to 2 million. But those are more like, for me at least, more like a hot sauce that I can eat, enjoy. This one is more like chemical burn instead of the physical one.
Okay, I feel that.
So that's, I think, the reason that I guess this one is like the first that hits differently.
I feel you. I feel you. Well, the thing is, like, yeah. So, we had a few episodes about what we call the design proletariat, which was one of our biggest conversations. The idea of, the design proletariat is essentially the idea that good designers don't design, they're strategists and they do all this mental work, and you have cheap people pushing the pixels.
Yeah.
And as our societies become more global, it's still not equal. There's great division between cheap meaning well, it doesn't matter if someone's cheap, if someone's good or not. Essentially, you want to delegate pushing the pixels. Like nobody. So you see people like all this trend. I don't want to name names. Like it's. Well, actually, I don't know. Well, I think I have to now, right? So this is one point of contention with me and Christo, for example, that I love and respect as a friend, but we have major disagreements in the way we structure our work. God, I shouldn't be saying this and sweating, but this idea that somehow being paid to think is the designer's dream or everybody's dream is problematic, because the idea is that you're a designer, you approach the global village with with bright eyes. You want to learn, you want to become better, you want to improve your life situation, you want to improve your designs. And people tell you, hey, nameless person number 275, you're important. You're clearly a thinker and you're just trapped in the designer's body. So here's our course and our book and our content that you will need to consume in order to transform yourself from your sad little pathetic designer life into the supreme situation where you just get paid to think. Well, first of all, this is completely wrong in terms of there are many designers who are not great thinkers. It's good to separate the strategy bit from the pixel bit. I get that. But somehow people do the strategy bit. Now they feel superior to the people doing the design bit, which is the problem. So in other how can I put this? Like in other disciplines, the zoom that the zoom level you're working in has no impact on your status. So if you're doing in physics, if you're doing cosmology and you study about galaxies and stars and planets, or if you're doing quantum mechanics and you're studying really tiny specific things, like nobody's inherently better than the other. You say, the sun is 1,000,000 times bigger than the Earth, so like it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But somehow strategy is pretty much the zoomed out bit of branding. Essentially, you're thinking about the marketplace, the environment. Is like the difference being a biologist and an environmental person. So like the ecosystem and the organism, they're equally complex in their own way. So you might be good in studying the environment. Okay, I'm good with positioning. I'm really good with positioning. And I use that, but I don't think, it's a lofty goal telling people, if this is what you want, then don't pick colors for a logo, or don't push pixels or however. Like we even have these degrading words, right? You're pushing pixels, you're just sweating on the keyboard or something, That's troubling. And especially now that we have a cheap source of labor to do the ugly work that we don't want to do, we even make it more classist by saying, okay, this is the job for the Indians, for the Philippines, for the African people. And that's horrendous. And we keep perpetuating this by just feeling smug about ourselves because we're doing that.
I don't know if that's the thinking behind it. Like at some point, even now, there's so many people in design and they're doing so cheap, and there is a lot of AI in development that can do the design for you, that the thinkers are the only one that they will continue after that.
I disagree.
I think, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just saying that there is a possibility, but what I don't like about that idea, what's happening, it's like I see it more like a trending, like every designer now wants to be a strategist.
Yeah.
And maybe you're not cut out to be a strategist, but you want to be one, and you're trying to do that. And maybe you're an excellent designer, but you don't do that because
I get the artificial intelligence argument in a sense. I'll tell you what I mean. So this year, my dad he's been a pensioner for some years now, and this year, because of lockdown as well, he's making wooden model ships. So he makes them on his own. He just gets the plans and he cuts the wood and he does it like completely from scratch. So this year he got a laser cutter in order to make his own, like to cut everything really precisely and all that. So I'm teaching him how to use Inkscape, which is the equivalent of Illustrator essentially. So I'm teaching him he's not good with the pen tool, the path tool, however, whatever name it has in the software. So I'm teaching him more about, anchor points and all that, right? So my dad's an engineer. He knows about, he is amazing with hand designing, he was really precise, very sharp, but it's still his manual dexterity skills with a mouse are not as well developed as mine. Then if I want to trace an apple, or a symbol of some sorts, I can do it really quickly now. So there is something to be said about manual skills that are fairly irrelevant, and as technology goes by, they will become more obsolete. I do think that.
Yeah.
Okay, so like where to click, or I do remember Illustrator before smart guides.
Yeah.
Things like this that you generally automation is going to improve.
Yeah, because in your example, at some point, you don't even need to touch the mouse.
Yes.
It can, from a photo, you can have the outline, or you can just download.
Yes, but I mean, yes, the manual skills
Yeah.
are going to be increasingly more obsolete than the thinking bits.
Yeah.
But there are many specific disciplines like typesetting, for example, that, well, again, they can be roughly automated for something really big. You don't have to manually kern a whole magazine, I suppose. But there's no way that if Giambattista Bodoni was alive today, he would be inferior to a person who's thinking.
I don't agree with inferior.
Yes.
Actually, I think that your father, if he's doing the work by hand, he's superior to the guy that does it through the machine
I
really
mean,
easily.
yes, I mean, so no. What I mean to be saying is like automation will help with the manual things. Like it's about getting used to the mouse and being precise and all that. Like, that's a skill. It eventually develops. It might not even be the important bit. And I'm pretty sure that people with disabilities of any sorts will also welcome such. I'm pretty sure it will be easier to have designers with mobility challenges having better and more precise work as things go by. Sure, and pretty sure they might be working right now as creative directors because of that. But we might also see people doing, illustrations. Like, things might change in that regard. But in any case, the thing is, like, we have a shaming language. We have an elitist approach to a certain aspect of the work that we're doing. And now we're outsourcing this in the cheapest parts of the world, and that is a problem. Like, that creates division. So things like that are pretty much the way we, the type of topics that we speak about in the podcast. It's really intriguing. It's really interesting.
Are you ready for the next one?
I don't think I'm ready, but it has to happen, right? I'm curious. I'm not ready, but I'm curious. So this time I'll be conservative and I won't judge it
immediately. Yeah, also I think this one hits a little bit later. This one was more immediate.
Yeah. But I have to say, huge spike here. Huge.
What do you think about this one?
It will be a curious word. I feel it feels very Mediterranean.
Oh, okay. Not sure what they have. Garlic.
Oh, it has garlic, yeah. Could be have basil as well, or something.
Rice flour. Gum or Arabic something. And ginger extract.
Okay. So I think it's the garlic, perhaps. It feels. Doesn't it feel like something you'd find in a pizza or something?
Oh yeah, now that you mention it, like the sauce, that's true. You have a really good taste.
Well, it started from design.
The aftertaste actually, it feels like pizza.
I have a funny design story about this. So when I lived and worked in Greece, I was working in central Athens, and we had a really good coffee shop in the corner where I would go buy coffee right before work. And these guys were really, really good, premium and all that. Not really premium, like price-wise, very accessible. But they would go to the World Barista Championships and things like that.
Okay.
So I was a regular at the shop for a year and a half or something like that. They knew me, knew my name. One day I'm just finished with work. I stopped by for a short espresso. It was 5 in the afternoon or something, and they're like, do you have 10 minutes? I'm like, sure, yeah, what's up? So they take me in the basement. So they're preparing for the World Barista Championships. So they're taking me to the basement where they rehearse the presentation that they do for the coffees that they're going to be making.
Okay.
So they sit us down and they show us this great disc of flavors, and it has pretty much every single flavor that you can think of. So things like orangey or chocolate or acid, and it's separated in categories like fruity, acid, bitter, and all that, and just have subcategories of pretty much everything. So the proper way of coffee tasting is you see the disc and you sort of decide where the profile fits for the immediate taste and the aftertaste. So both. And because you have a visual cue, you start thinking about, this has a bit of a grape flavor, pineapple, like I felt the pineapple, I really felt it, but I could also see it in the disc. So it helps you. I didn't know the existence of this visual thing, and now that I know it, it's really hard to taste anything without this coming into my mind. So this is a situation where a visual cue has helped me tons. So this, I have to say, it's not as challenging. So the question is, would it make that? Here's my systems Dimi going forward. So the question is, should you put this here?
Well,
or do you think the bump will be equal? As just our?
I think I'm not sure exactly how they measure the capsimin with a Scoville unit, but this one is higher than this one. I guess that everyone is hitting. Like maybe someone is not feeling this one that much.
Yeah.
Like every
person is different, you think?
Yeah. And
well, you'll have
also after this one, I guess you can take it more easily. So if I was removing this one, I think you will find this one really hard.
Yeah. I get that. The question is where the bump is. The bump is here for me.
Oh, okay.
So I'm. My systems-oriented mind is like, perhaps, is it, so there's scientists, right? So is it then we build the tolerance and then we're just used to this by this point? Or is it that it's about the curve?
Yeah. You will probably need to taste it with more people, I guess.
Yeah. So I really wish you do many of these.
Yeah. Because they also rate them differently.
Yeah.
Like the official Scoville unit is higher than this one, but in the website they could rank them like this is a 5 out of 10, but this is a 7 out of 10.
Right.
So it depends on the.
But that people have that experience that this is harder than this.
Yeah, for me, I think it's because of the taste.
Yeah.
The burn is not a natural burn.
Could be.
But I don't know.
Beyond insanity. It feels like it looks terrible. The design is.
Yeah. I think it's in purpose.
No, it's not. Well, it is,
but
it's not at the same time,
Yeah.
It could be. It could be amazing.
But something like in a...
Who am I to judge?
Cover.
Who am I to judge? What do I have to do with design? It's really hard. It's the same thing as the thing that I told you about the taste disc. it's the same. Like if you have certain skills, it's really hard to see the world differently. Like, do you have this thing where you notice bad kerning in different situations? Like, yeah, sometimes it's just terrible.
When you're when they bring you the menu,
yes,
in a restaurant,
just,
and instead of choosing you're like,
oh God, yes.
what?
Yeah, it's like
it must be really annoying for the non-designers when we do that.
Well, there's this saying that it says like, if you hate someone, teach them to understand bad kerning.
Yeah, it's once you know about it, it's really difficult to
unsee it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost to the last one. Where people can find you.
Oh,
what's the best place?
Well, we have our website, symbolonbranding.co.uk. So that's the main thing. Our Instagram account was deactivated.
Oh yeah.
In a big Facebook explosion about a month ago. So the new social media is Symbolon.branding, Facebook, Symbolon Branding, LinkedIn, Symbolon Branding. It's Dimitris Lazarou everywhere. Probably we'll have things written down and things like that.
Cool.
And the podcast is called Design Alchemy. You can find it on Spotify and Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts and everywhere you listen to podcasts, Stitcher, pretty much everywhere, which is good. And what else? We're going to be soon releasing a product about storytelling and archetypes and symbols. So essentially,
it's gonna be on Kickstarter.
It's going to be on Kickstarter really soon. It has its own social media. It's animus.cards. So it's a set of cards that have archetypal symbols from really old stories of our civilization, essentially. Things like the vampire, the wolf in sheep's clothing, the snake guarding the tree. So it's all things that people in global culture will recognize, and we use them as ingredients for people to tell their own stories in a way that's relatable to everyone. So
I remember we talked about the Kickstarter like 2 years ago or something. So I'm really happy that you're doing.
Yes, I was. It was a very different idea at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to have found.
So
my collaborators on this, people from Cult Cut in Romania, Mircea, Alina, and Ioana. So they're doing all the illustration.
They did some amazing work on
this. Yes, much better than I could have ever dreamed of doing. So I'm terribly satisfied by this.
Nice.
So
well, I think until this is edited and out, you're gonna probably have the Kickstarter, so I'm gonna have the link in the description.
Yes, so definitely the social media is going to be out for people to get acquainted with this. It's animus.cards, both on Instagram, and we do have a domain, which is animus.cards as well. We have a .cards domain, which is intriguing. So that's the links and
cool.
I should, like last time, I'm not sure if we spoke about my book last time. I'm writing a book. I was planning on writing a book,
and I forgot about it.
And the thing is, like, I should be promoting this as well, but it's
you should.
nowhere near finished. It's nowhere near finished. So I won't bore anyone with
I think it's a pretty interesting book from what I remember, because you're putting mathematics inside, which I'm not a huge fan, but since you study that, it makes sense.
Well, the thing is, like, I feel very bad for the way us designers have decided that we need to take a distance from more intellectual, brainy things. It's a very valuable skill, like all the other valuable skills we're taking. I'm really trying to show people that first of all, mathematics is absolutely relevant in design in many shapes and forms.
I think when I say, most people, when they say they don't like maths, it's the maths that you learn in school, the way that you learn it in school. So
yes, but we do have this bad approach. We say, hey, I'm just a designer, I'm not a rocket scientist.
Oh, okay.
You know, you make it simple for me. Like, we do have this trend, especially in public, and it's really bad. Like, designers deserve to be smart people.
So yeah, I do like that you taking that approach and combining maths, and it's gonna be about branding.
Yes, so
the next level of branding, actually.
Ish. Essentially, I'm making a model for branding that is going to be easier to work with. That's my approach, and more intentional. So not measurable just yet, but trying to understand what brands consist of. Like we're saying about capsaicin, right? So all these things have different labels and names and all that, but they have the same element inside them. It's not an element; it's a molecule, essentially, capsaicin, right? And they all have it, and they have it in different concentrations, and because of that, we're judging them in a different way, and they hurt us physically. They make us cry in a different way. So the question is, can we find the ingredients of branding and use them in such a way that they can literally make you cry if they need to? We'll see how it goes.
I'm waiting for
the last one. Are you going to add?
Yeah.
For yours?
It's not a tradition here, but it's a tradition in Hot Ones to add a last dab.
Yes, please.
You don't need to do it.
Yes, I need to. Yes, of course.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's fine, I guess.
Should I be scared? Should I lick it?
Whatever you want.
Again, I won't be quick to judge. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. So yeah, that's the idea. Finding out the ingredients, realize how they work together, and being more deliberate in the way that we approach branding. Because I find the definition we currently have, or what others think of your business, it's kind of true, but at the same time, it doesn't allow you to do anything. So you say the KFC brand or the bomb brand is what other people think of you. So what?
So it gives you like an understanding, but you don't know how to use that.
Yes, but
so you're basically creating like a way to use that.
Yes.
Okay.
But if you say it's a collection of elements that you can mutate, you can copy, you can share. Now you have tools just by the definition. You know?
I like the scientific approach to that.
No.
And I find it difficult because it's like I don't know, those ideas are more like abstract a lot of times, so it's difficult to do that.
In a sense, it's it's really it's really wasteful right now. We're always fishing for good designs, just hoping they appear in our minds if we think hard enough. But if you know what you're looking for, the capsaicin in there, you know what you're looking for and you know what result needs to be. Just add as much as you want instead of experimenting with hot peppers until you...
Yeah. You already have the elements, but you need to find them. Cool. Well, as I'm doing in all the podcasts, I'm going to ask you 3 fast random questions.
Hit me.
You can answer whatever comes first in your mind.
Hit me.
Explore. So, first one is, since you're a Formula One fan,
yes, I am.
which team has the best branding or design?
Oh shit! Branding or design?
Like branding and design. Because
can I separate them?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
This is where I was going.
The brand Ferrari, 100 million %, right? It's the best brand out there.
Yeah.
Design. I love what McLaren is doing with the papaya. I love it. I love it. They really know what they're doing in terms of visuals. Well done there. Racing Point is not in pink anymore, so I would go with that. But now it's just
you can mix them with Mercedes now.
No,
no, I mean the cars. When
yes,
they pass
yes.
them, like, is this? Oh no.
Yes, or the hands down, it's McLaren now. But in terms of brand, like Ferraris,
this is why I wanted to separate brand and design.
I think Ferrari is one of the most precious brands in the world in general.
Yeah. If I say a fast car, you're gonna
no,
think
even that. Like Ferrari compared to Apple, compared to whatever, it's the strongest brand.
Yeah.
You have less bad things to say about Ferrari than Apple.
True. Second one is, what is your biggest fear?
Oh. You mean physical fear or existential fear?
Whatever you like.
Okay. So, well, I'm terrified of losing my mind in some way or form. I have tremendous respect for people who want to help with things like Alzheimer's and memory, brain tumors. All that is deeply, deeply disturbing and terrifying to me. And this is the one sort of charity I usually help is Brain in the UK, which is an organization helping with that. I would dread having some part of myself slowly missing from my brain. I could live without many physical body things. But
that sounds terrifying.
Yeah. So yes, that's my biggest fear.
Okay. And third one is a skill that everyone should learn.
A skill that everyone should learn. Oh shit! I've already said mathematics, right? A skill that everyone should have. Googling stuff, like being really good at Googling. I think if other people were as good as Googling as I am, I would be out of a job right now. I think finding out how to find out about stuff is super, super, super important.
Yeah, fast thinker and good answer. I will not think about that, but it's really good.
It's it's everybody. Well, not everybody. Some people think I'm smart, but I'm just really good at finding things. People. When I was in the army, I went literally the first 10 minutes or so, somebody would ask me where the toilets might be. I'm like, why do you think I would know and you wouldn't? Like, we've been here 10 minutes, both of us. Like, why would you think that I would know and you wouldn't? But the thing is, like, I would never ask such a question.
Yeah.
Like I would try to find
Yeah.
signage, some way of finding out.
Yeah.
So knowing how to search for stuff, like it's a really valuable skill. It saved me a lot of time for many stupid questions my friends ask. Thank you very much.
Nice. Which one's your favorite as terms of taste?
In terms of taste, okay. So you were right that the last two didn't hit as hard as the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I'm a fire person. I really liked the smokiness, and
Okay.
I am not against the vinegary approach. In terms of design, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look appropriate either for the smoky, but like it felt old.
Yeah.
It felt like cedarwood and coals and a cabin in the mountains, and just doesn't feel like that. Doesn't look like that. I really like it.
Yeah. I agree.
Adobo loco. Maui Hawaii.
Well, man, thank you for being in the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking the challenge. I
No,
think you did well.
It was a beautiful challenge. Yes.
Wait.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I'll enjoy it. I'll say that. Thank you. Success.